Everybody have your lunch? Good. So first of all, I would like to thank the organizer committee for inviting me to share my experience working with the Sun Bear for the last 25 years. And this is going to be a slightly longer presentation compared to others, so please bear with me. Okay, my first slide. Today I'm going to talk about the education and engagements bring change to wildlife conservation and a case study of Bornean Sun Bear conservations. As most of you know, this is the smallest bear species in the world. It is the cutest bear species in the world. It is the least known bear in the world until 30th of July. When this viral video gone viral across the world over the next week or so, there are more, well, put it this way, half of the world populations know about sun bears. And unfortunately, half of those people, well, I'm being exaggerated, half of those people actually believe that it was a guy dressed up in a sun bear coat in Hangzhou Zoo. And I was interviewed on multiple occasions on various medias to verify that this was in fact a sun bear. And to me, who have been working with sun bears and trying to educate people about sun bear for the last 25 years, I feel pretty sad, because after all these years of trying and educating and telling story about sun bear, and people still do not know that how a sun bear looks like. Yes, sun bear can stand up like a humans. Sun bear can walk like a humans, okay? And it is a bear, and it is just so human-like. So today's, for me as an educator, I started with research students trying to understand the sun bears and later on educate the general public about sun bears. I feel like, wow, my job is not done yet. I still got a lot of things to do in the future. And as I'm getting older, but my work is not done yet, so I cannot get, So anyway, to give a general brief introductions about sun bears, they are the only bear species, well, they are found across Southeast Asia. They are the tropical bears found across Southeast Asia. They are listed as IUCN Red Book listing as vulnerable species. The numbers across Southeast Asia ranging from eastern tip of India, eastern tip of Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Peninsula of Malaysia, Sumatra, Borneo. The population is declining. On this map, the red area is the extinct zone. Bears used to be there, but no longer there because of deforestation, hunting and poaching, pet keeping, and all the threats that they are facing. And then the green area is the area where they are still found today. And the green area is the probably extant. Forest is still there, but there's no study. And then the orange area is the one that we for sure there are bears there. The population is believed to decline for more than 35% over the last 35 years. They are threatened by various causes. Like I mentioned, deforestation is one of them. Sun bears is a forest-dependent species, and they live in the forest. The amount of forest reflects on the amount of habitat that they have. So this is same to all wildlife species across these regions. And then, as you know, Borneo, Southeast Asia, all the orange area on these maps are all being deforested since the 90s until today. And the light green is the selective log forest or the secondary forest, and then the pristine forest is the dark green forest on this map, so which is not a lot already. And then they are threatened by poaching. Yesterday we mentioned some poaching issue, and some for sun bears per se, one of the very important or one of the very common poaching method is using snares in this forest, and then snares do not discriminate on any wildlife, including bears, rhino, elephants, tigers, you name it. They all are victims of snares. And then, say for example, this bears that I help students to, on her project in West Malaysia many years ago, he was a three-legged bear. Why three-legged? Because of snaring, and very lucky to survive. And then beside that, bears has been hunted across this region for food, things like that. Sorry for the graphic pictures. And although there are laws, but there's still a weakness on law enforcement, and that's why this kind of thing still happen over and over again. Besides bears, meat has been eaten. Their claws, their canine has been used as a traditional items to wear especially during their traditional costume, during their traditional ceremony, like these pictures from Kayan tribe people, and their necklace is actually canine from sun bears. And then even more impressive is the headset. They are canine from clouded leopard. I took this picture a couple years ago in Kuching, one of the souvenir shops. Sun bear claw sell for 150 ringgits per piece. Sun bear's cub are very, very cute as the smallest bear species in the world. People thought that as long as they bottle fed a little sun bear cub, it will turn into a chihuahua. Sorry, it's not going to happen. It will turn into a bear and a wildlife and can equally cause a lot of problems. After seeing lots of problems that I mentioned, especially bears has been captured as pets. Back in 2004, I have these ideas of setting up a sun bear conservation center to conserve sun bears. And then in 2008, I finally materialized these dreams. This project was collaborated with Sabah Wildlife Department, Sabah Forestry Department, and an NGO called LEAPed in Sabah to facilitate funding. And then together, a four parties partnership, we founded the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center based in Sepilok, Sanakant, Malaysia, Sabah. And then under the theme of conservations, we would like to conserve sun bear through a holistic approach and pragmatic approach that incorporates improved animal welfare, education, research, rehabilitations, ecotourism, anti-poaching, community conservations, captive breeding on the pipelines, literally everything that it takes to conserve sun bears. Why we have to do this thing? Because it's all important. It takes me 6 years to fundraise and then build the facilities, and finally in 2014, we opened to the public, and then we welcome the general public or visitors or tourists to come and see the bears in a natural forest environment. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to visit us, I strongly encourage you to come and visit us. And then this is a place where you can see the sun bear live in semi-wild situations where they can be like sleeping on trees, where they can be, digging for food on the forest floor and things like that. Pretty impressive sighting, I would say, at our center. At our center also have a series of signboards where we are very proudly working with University of Sunshine Coast, Australia, to design to have the signboard so that we can tell the publics more about the sun bears by having these educations themes that we do. And for information, the pictures you saw is actually Tan Sri Dato Michelle Yeoh, who a few years ago came to visit our center. So it was great to have a center like this and welcome the visitors. So since 2014, our visitors number have increased, and we have done, I would say, not a bad job in order to, in terms of educating the tourists, the visitors, and then deliver the education message, especially to kids. We are privileged to have this facility so that we can actually work with school groups, which is the next generations, which is our future wildlife protectors. And these are the numbers of school groups that visited us since 2014. And then we also conduct school outreach for those schools that cannot come to our centers and visit our bears. We have a education unit who have been actively visiting school or local communities and trying to, spread out the message on wildlife conservations, on sun bear conservations, and these are the school groups numbers that we visited over the year. And then we also reach out with the local community as well, because we cannot tease apart the local community because they are the people who live side by side with a forest reserve, with the wildlife, and most of them have the history or culture of exploiting forest resources, wildlife included. Yeah. And then beside that, every year we celebrate International Sun Bear Day on May 16. So it is pretty the event of the year for us to do, where we have school groups come here, and then there's a series of events like Zumba for sun bears or something like that. And then we also do, and during the pandemic, I started the virtual tour trying to raise funds and as well as do something to spread the words about sun bear educations. So it has been great. So we also produce a series of education materials, brochures, book, posters, workbook, and so on and so forth. So these education activities have helped us gain more support from the public as well as the education activities. Bear adoption program, we also work with local schools to set up exhibits like this one in Taitung Primary School in Sanakant. And then and there are several schools and several group of people do fundraising with us, and so on and so forth. And all of these are local engagements where they come to our centers, they learn about the bears, they have the ownership of the bears, which makes their experience, their feeling more better, and eventually they are the ambassadors for the sun bears. And then despite the fact that we do a lots of educations, outreach, and tell people that you cannot hunt bear, you cannot keep bear, but yet earlier this year in May 12, we thought we did a great job on educating people not to keep bears, but however, on May 12th this year, there is a case of a local people keeping a sun bears in Telopit, and the bear escaped and then injured the neighbors of the sun bear's owner, and that bear unfortunately was killed 1 hour later. So it was really, really bad incidents where we feel like, come on, all of the works that we have been doing, still people are stubborn. People are stubborn about, keeping sun bears and want to challenge the law and so on and so forth. In Malaysia, sun bears are a totally protected species in West Malaysia, in West Malaysia and Sabah, and a protected species in Sarawak. There are 3 different laws across Malaysia, across different regions. And then a totally protected species means that you cannot hunt a bear, you cannot keep a bear, you cannot harm a bear, and so on. And the penalty is a lot heavier than in Sarawak. Say, for example, sun bears only are a protected species. And then years and years of wildlife conservation, wildlife protection, everybody knows that we need strict law to help wildlife poaching. And this is a no-brainer that this is something that we need to do. And then another news come out late last year. This was on last year, July. On the headlines says, jobless man convicted of unlawfully possessing protected animals, plants in Kapit, Sarawak. Again, this is the text. I want to highlight this text, and then it says that there's a 59-year-old jobless man sentenced to 3 years good behavior bond for possessions of protected animals and plant without permit. And what did he have? He has 192 Argus pheasant feather, he has 152 helmeted hornbill feather, and 148 helmeted hornbill cast without a license. He also have 183 sun bear bows. You know, this guy is not jobless. And this is the frustrations that we have after we have been working so hard and trying to advocate education and so on, but yet in mass media, in general public, it is still biased towards humans. Jobless man, excuse me, he is more busy than you and me. He is running a big syndicate. Jobless man, excuse me, he is more richer than you and me combined. You know, so this is the kind of world that we are fighting to conserve wildlife. Education is great. All these years of education work, education is a must. However, education is not enough. We need good law and harsh law, okay? And harsh law and good laws is still not enough. We need good law enforcement. Political wills to enforce the wildlife protection law, and after that we need good prosecution. And after that, the judge need to put heavy sentences on the people who choose to break the law. And that is how it should work in the first place. Okay? Without these four processes, wildlife conservation is really, really difficult. Education is a must, but it is not enough. Okay, we must do education, but we also need the authorities to enforce the wildlife law and prosecute and give heavy sentence to the people who choose to break the law. In Sarawak, for example, sun bears is a protected species. The maximum fine for Sarawak is merely 10,000 ringgit. In Sabah, under the Sabah Wildlife Conservation Enactments, sun bears is a class 1 totally protected species, and the maximum punishment is 250,000 ringgit and can be imprisoned up to 5 years. In Sarawak, it's only 1 year. So I think Sarawak should amend the law and upgrade the protected status of sun bears. Otherwise, sun bears is going to have a hot or bleak futures in Sarawak. Wildlife conservation, say for example in China or for giant panda and other bear species, is quite successful. Why? Because the people who poach panda not only being prosecuted, they are actually being executed. The maximum sentences for panda poachers can be a death sentence. This is that kind of harsh punishments that we need to conserve an endangered species like panda, like sun bears. But the good news is over the last few years, things have changed that where we see West Malaysia, Sabah, have the political wills to curb illegal poachers and then fight illegal poaching activity, which is a good thing and definitely is moving towards the right directions. And then wildlife protections or wildlife poaching is not just about saving endangered species, it's actually saving ourselves as well as a human species. We all been through the COVID-19 pandemic. We all know about what is zoonotic diseases. And then zoonotic diseases is something that share between wildlife or domestic animal with people. And there has been many examples that a lot of the diseases that we have, either from HIV, from Ebola, from SARS, from COVID-19, you name it, most of them or all of them come originally from wildlife. So it is rationales to keep wildlife and humans apart. Don't eat wildlife, don't keep wildlife, stay away with wildlife, respect wildlife and keep wildlife wild. And one way, and not only that, once a pandemic, say for example COVID-19 have happened, the economy loss is huge. So it is a lot more sensible to prevent them from happening than let it happen and try to spend a lot of money to fix it. because not only money will be lost, life will be lost as well. So this is something that another reason why we need to keep wildlife wild. How are we going to keep wildlife wild and not exploiting wildlife? For me, after our centers has been opened to the public in 2014, we promote nature-based tourism. We have a lot of tourists from across the world come and visit our centers and also Sabah. And then with these visitors, bring in visitors' money. Okay, and then the fund from visitors not only fund our operations at the Bornean Sabah Conservation Center, but it also creates jobs. It also creates jobs. Local people can have a job as a driver, as a boatman, as a cook, and so on and so forth. And these visitors, the money that they spend here can make a difference. And they are here because of our forest, which is a very, very special place. Our rainforest is amazing. The tallest tree in the world, the tallest tropical trees in the world is in Borneo, measure 100.8 meters tall. Only 12 meters shorter than the tallest tree in the world, the California redwood. And it is 12 meters taller than the Godzilla, who is 88 meters tall. And this forest is amazing. It's 130 million years with a lot of biodiversity, and these are the attractions that are already there. You don't need to keep them. You don't need to rear them. You don't need to plant them. It's already there. So that's why a lot of the tourists value the biodiversity of Borneo and come here and then enjoy, and we make money. We make money. So this is something that I'm trying to advocate for, to promote something that I call conservation ecotourism, where one of the products for conservation is promote ecotourism, and ecotourism pay for conservations, ecotourism, promote local economy, boost local economy, and generate revenues for everybody, and eventually it enhances the commitment and incentive for the governments to protect wildlife and wildlife habitat. And the governments need to know about it. They have to step in first to protect the forest and to protect the wildlife. Then it draws in, then it attracts more tourists. And the tourist money will improve local people's livelihood. And guess what happened during the next election? The local people will say, this government is good government, and therefore I will vote for you. It's a good, positive cycle where everybody needs to recognize that this is actually happening. This year, Sabah is optimistic to achieve a target of 2.2 million visitors. And with that 2.2 million visitors, it can generate 2.9 billion for the state of Sabah. It is a lucrative business. You just have to protect the forest, the nature, the wildlife, keep the trees standing, keep the wildlife running wild, and it will do the magic which will make the state prosperous and also help the people. And thank you, Heidi, for giving me inspiration. So tomorrow, Dr. Heidi Quinn will talk about happy people means happy bears. I want to steal her idea of not only happy people will bring happy bears, but also will bring happy wildlife as well. So everybody need to keep the people happy by improving their livelihood, by helping them, especially the poor people. Right now, our challenge is because of the gaps between the rich and the poor is so huge. Before the pandemic, there are Chinese tourists, small amount of Chinese tourists come to Sabah, come to KK and want to eat bear paws. They are willing to pay like 2,000 ringgit for a bear paw stew. That kind of money is irresistible for lots of very, very poor people. So we need to help them as much as possible. We need to use their knowledge so that one day they can contribute to wildlife conservation, wildlife research. Those people who are ex-poachers, who are poachers, have a lot of knowledge. They can be a tour guide, they can be a research assistant, and this is what we all need to work hard to achieve in order to bring happy people on the ground. And happy people on the ground means happy wildlife and safeguard, especially the endangered species. Yeah, today I talk about education and engagement, but my message is it is not enough. Many years ago, I read Jane Goodall's book, Through the Window, in the early 90s. And then the first page is her quote saying, "Only if we understand will we care. Only if we care will we help. Only if we help shall all be safe." Education is understand. The first step, the very, very first step is to understand. For me, the same thing. I trying to do research on sun bears. I try to understand the sun bears, and after that, I deliver the message through education program to the general public so that people can care. Care comes from the hearts. Nobody force you to do if you are not caring enough. And then only if you care, you will have to help, and help is action. Hopefully, they will be safe. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say today is education is a must. It's the first step. But it is not enough. It has to follow with law enforcement and also improve social economy and livelihood on the ground through nature-based tourism. In Sabah, in Bornean, we have this kind of resources where we can use them or utilize them nicely. And then hopefully, hopefully everybody can understand, especially people from the top until the very local people who live side by side with the wildlife. If I have a wish list, I seriously hope that our environmental education and conservation education can be incorporated into the school curriculum, starting from preschool, starting from kindergarten, all the way to high school, all the way to university. Everybody growing up knowing what is a sun bear. Not like seeing a sun bear, thought it is humans dressed up in a sun bear coat. No, you know that it is a sun bear. For me, I have a personal experience. How many of you have heard about the words dipterocarp? Raise your hand. Some of you, most of you do got no idea what is dipterocarp, right? I first heard about the words dipterocarp when I was 25 years old. What is dipterocarp? Dipterocarp is the proper name of our forest, lowland dipterocarp rainforest. Dipterocarp comes from the words Dipterocarpaceae, which is the major tree species in our forest, and we do not know. And it is a very, very sad thing. And hopefully, through nature, wildlife, conservations, educations, everybody knows what is the name of our forest and what is our wildlife that live in our forest. Very, very important. And that's why through Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center, you can say that I'm a very greedy person by incorporating all of this. But I think that it has to be all of this. I cannot choose the easiest conservation works to do to conserve sun bear and say that I want to save sun bear. I need to do everything, regardless that it is easy, not easy, dangerous, not dangerous. I must do them all. Time is running out, ladies and gentlemen. Back in 2020, I said, sun bears have 10 more years. If we can successfully save them within the next 10 years, which is by 2030, they will live for a long time. If we fail, they'll be gone. Starting from local extinctions, regional extinction, and country extinction, and so on. For Malaysia, we have a species that already gone extinct, which is the Sumatran rhinoceros, which is the rarest large mammal in the world. Numbers across the world may be less than 50 or 53, So hopefully, sun bears and other wildlife species do not repeat the footsteps of the Sumatran rhinoceros. Thank you very much. Okay, have time to question, no? Okay, I think we have time for questions. Okay, time for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, sir.
Do you think the economic push from and industries that destroy the forest, like palm oil and pulp paper, can be outcompeted by ecotourism in terms of the economic drivers for?
Well, I think those are important source of income as well. Yeah, you cannot deny that it is happening. And then I think, especially where states where there's still a lot of forest, definitely you need to save your forests and use nature-based tourism as much as possible to generate revenues. Yeah. Different area across Southeast Asia have different policy. And I think in Sabah, we are lucky one, because of the nature-based tourism started in Sabah back in the 80s from the Sepilo Orangutan Rehabilitation Center. The government see the potential for nature-based tourism, and then right now the Sabah state government pledged to keep 50% of the total land area as forest, and 30% are totally protected forests. And that is a big commitment because the governments know the potential of the forest. And especially with global climatic change and people start talking about carbon credits, and all of them can generate revenues as long as the management is transparent and benefiting the local people as well. Yeah. So, yeah, not to, yeah.
All right.
Yes, yeah, can come out to the mic.
Hi. So my question is, a lot of a country's income through wildlife is generated through charismatic species or more known species. So how do we change that narrative or bring the lesser charismatic species, so to say, into the forefront to increase revenue through ecotourism or any other?
Yeah, I think, for that particular questions, it's okay for the tourism focus on the charismatic species that is easy to see, or through series of managements, good guide, creating good trails, good places to see wildlife. And if the visitors manage to see the less charismatic, more rarer species, which is good. Say for example, in Sabah, all of the bird watcher want to come to Sabah, they have one particular species in mind, which is Bornean bristlehead, endemic species to Borneo. And then if they see it, they are very happy. If they do not see it, they will come back again and try to see one again and spend more money. And this is exactly what we want. Yeah, so it's okay. You don't, like, say sun bears. Is it a good species for nature-based tourism? It's not a good species, let me tell you. It's so difficult to see a sun bear in the wild. So the best place to see sun bear in the wild is Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center. Yeah, so we use this captive bear that we rescue. Currently, we have 44 rescued bear at our center, and use them as the ambassador for the species. Those bears that can be released back into the wild, we are releasing them. And then those bears that cannot be can be released back into the wild, we use them as the ambassador for the species. We use them as a subject for our research. Yeah, so try to maximize, their presence, as much as possible. For me, I'm a wildlife biologist. I want bears to live in the wild. I do not want bears to live in captivity, not even in our center. I have no choice but to deal with this 69 bears that the Sabah Wildlife Department have been rescued over the last 15 years and put it at our center. So that's why we need to spend a lot of effort trying to stop poaching, trying to stop people from keeping bears in the first place by educations, law enforcement, and also help those local people on the ground so that they can choose not to become poachers. I think that's the way that we should do it. And over the last 15 years and in the near future, we will continue to move towards that directions. That's the hope. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good? All good?
A big round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen.